We're live. Hello, everyone. This is Evgeny at the Moving Target podcast. I'm here with my good bud that I just met, Zlatko. He's been a freelancer for quite some time. I know him from LinkedIn because he's been posting some really dope stuff. We just connected, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago when the Ship Studio hype just happened, and both of us ended up being in the same community. I wrote something, he reached out to LinkedIn, and basically just few exchanges as if we're starting dating or whatnot. But the jokes aside, this is Latko. I'll let him tell the story of what it is he's doing. And yeah, let's get started.
Thank you for a great introduction, Evgeny. I've known about you for the last few years. Actually, I've been following you and I've been seeing the comments that you've been sharing and the work that you've been doing with Claude. And it's been quite cool to see that evolution and how it all grew. And especially in these last few weeks, when you started talking about AI, for me, it was like I saw that AI could do some really insane stuff. And I was looking at LinkedIn and nobody was acknowledging that AI can do a really big chunk of the technical work that we used to do when it comes to web design, development with Webflow Framer and whatnot. And first, I saw Julian talking about this on X, on YouTube, then on LinkedIn. And then I see you talking about it. And then I see you two guys do a podcast together. And I'm like, well, I'm not the only one. And then I see a bunch of people start talking about it on LinkedIn, how they're using AI to build and develop websites that used to take them weeks. They build it in a few hours now. And then I see other people saying how, well, then you can't manage those websites and marketing teams need to be able to easily edit them and access them and work on them. And then we're living in this very polarized space right now where people are really fighting over if AI is good enough or it isn't. So yeah, it's quite interesting times.
It is, but tell me a bit about
Yep.
what it is you do primarily, what you're working on. You're obviously a bit younger than me. We never talked about this before. So how did you get started working in the web? I know that you're a design engineer, but you're probably coming from development background. I've
Yep.
seen you post a bunch of cool designs. I've seen your website. It's freaking awesome. So tell me a bit about your journey. How do you, let's say, start out and how do you get here?
Okay, so there is quite a bit of story to that. In the primary school, I used to do graphic design with one of my buddies, and we would find local companies and we would do graphic design for them. But then I quickly realized that something wasn't clicking. I felt like I was limited to doing only one thing and that I wasn't exploring other interests that I've had. Then in high school, I started learning more about web, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We've had an informatics class and that basically an IT class. That's where we did C++. And then I started learning about class and objects and how class is a blueprint and object is an instance of that blueprint and so on and so forth. That was like the analogy used. There was this app called Solo Learn, and I would spend a lot of time on it learning basic syntax of the code. Then there was this limbo period where I was learning React and I was trying to get a job in one of these local outsourcing companies. That didn't work out for like a good year. I was doing interviews. I was talking to a bunch of people. I was doing a bunch of test projects, portfolio projects. None of it worked out, by the way,
And
for me.
for reference, when was this?
This was about 2020, 2019. This was
Okay,
the
so during
period I
the
was trying to
during the
get a job.
Corona period.
Yes, yes, during the COVID. But that's when the remote work started exploding. So what
Yep.
I've but a bit after that, in 2022, there's this organization called Network 2020, which is now EGC. It was this bold fellowship program. They would pick 10 students from Bosnia and then they would fly us out to America and we would spend a month in New York City and Buffalo and we would learn about entrepreneurship, business, startups, etc., etc. I do that. I go through the entire program. I come back from it. And then I realized what I want to do. I start training and I start learning Webflow because I saw a podcast from Uroš Mikic and I was blown away by everything that he was talking about and his background and how he came up to work with Webflow. I open up Webflow and start working in it and it just clicks to me like this makes sense. I went through their like university and I was like, this makes sense. Yeah, this is the tool that I was looking for, right? I start freelancing. Fiverr was exploding back then. I make a few gigs on Fiverr. In about 1.5 to 2 months, I start having my first clients. They reach out to me. It was like maybe $200. And this was now the end of 2022. That's when I land my first client. It was $200. And then I start learning Webflow more and more. And I get accepted into Fiverr Pro, which is like a higher tier type of program in Fiverr where you work with mostly like business clients who have serious budgets, et cetera, et cetera. Then between 2022 all the way up until maybe 6, 7 months ago, I would get crazy amount of messages on Fiverr from people. I would get like maybe 10, 20 messages a day from like brand new leads. We've had projects that we've done through Fiverr that were upwards of 6, 7, even like sometimes 10K, which is crazy to think about considering it's Fiverr, right? And what then happens is I decide to diversify. I start posting on LinkedIn. I start sharing my freelance experience, my Webflow knowledge, the web development knowledge overall that I've gained. And people start reaching out to me. I start networking with the community. And maybe 2024 or so, that's the first time when I start seeing you around on LinkedIn. I don't think your account back then was as big. And I start networking with people. I start meeting people. I start learning different tools that go well with Webflow, like MemberStack, like Zapier, Outseta, all of these different tools, and I start integrating them. And it was going extremely, extremely good. When ChatGPT 3.5 came out, I was doing JavaScript much quicker for Webflow sites. I would specify really good to chat. It would give me like great results. When 4.0 came out, it gave me like really good things. I learned GSAT, 3JS, all of these different tools that are basically trending in the web space. And from then I build my portfolio. I start talking more about it on LinkedIn. I start like getting traction and followers. And then, yeah, now we're here. Right now, I'm building an agency, Nova Studio, and it's going to be AI native agency. We can discuss more about why I'm now like transitioning from Webflow, Framer, and all of these traditional tools and going into the AI.
Sir, so just to like take a step back, it's a pretty long journey for you. You have been a geek throughout your whole life, which is all the power to you, man.
Thanks.
I've known some kids that are in high school and they're doing incredible things. And me, I'm a pretty dull guy. I'm a finance major. I started my dev career pretty late and I thought I'd never be able to pick something like this up. I did. And it was rolled through the fire because I've always gone through crazy deadlines to get from I don't know anything to I am pretty confident that I'll take care of the job very well and that the clients will love it. And for you, I see that there is a different part of the coin. You have been a geek for a long time, but you've been on your own for a very long time. Since I've been working at an agency space for quite a long time, I know that it's a lot easier to pick up on things because you always have some sort of community to reach out to, or you can ask your founder, say, hey, none of us know what the hell we're doing. We need someone who knows GSAP, 3JS, something else. And then he'll bring someone on board for one project. Then we'll learn that technology. And for you, it's only on your own. Of course, now with GPT and all the AI technologies, it's a lot easier, but it's still a big deal because in my eyes, that's a lot of discipline. That's a very cool thing. In terms of, you already said you're transitioning from Webflow and Framer, etc., to AI. And in that sense, we are fairly similar. The technology is great and it's easy to understand why you're doing so. You are a freelancer in the essence. That's how you're positioning yourself. And now you're building an agency, and not just any agency, you're going into AI space, which is fairly underdeveloped in terms of there are not a lot of agencies. I think the first agency that decided to start up is the agency that Julian started together with Bradford. and another one is Graphit, and they're a Webflow agency, but they have just migrated and they have done it even before us. But I want to figure out why you're building an agency now and why AI.
Okay. So while I'm building it now, I just have to take a small step back and say I wanted to do it for a long time, but I would always have so many projects lined up that I just wouldn't have enough time. And at that given time, I was scared to hire someone to do Webflow work because I would always think, what if something goes wrong and then they can just bail out and then my reputation with clients gets destroyed, right? So that's always kind of the mental blockade that I've had. And for a long time, I wanted to completely scale down on the project, save up money, and then start building, giving it my full focus. So why I'm doing AI now is simple. I've seen what Webflow can do. And for the time being, it was legitimately the best tool in the space to work with. And it was bridging the gap that was there, right? If you wanted to build a marketing website, you use Webflow because it's basically a graphical user interface for HTML and CSS. And it allows you to so intuitively build visually that it's the best, right? Then when the AI comes out, it redefines how quickly you can build things. Not immediately, but right now in this given state, it's completely redefining how quickly you can build things, what you can do with it. And I've decided at this given moment to take a leap of faith, completely scale down on the projects and go all in on building an AI native agency. Why? It's simple. I believe that you can deliver value for the clients quicker, better, and you don't have to just build a website for them that's generating leads, etc., etc. You can build systems that allow them to manage leads better. For example, I've recently created a post on LinkedIn. I live in Bosnia, and when diaspora comes from Germany, from all over the place, back to Bosnia, it's really difficult to get an appointment at the dentist office because they're having a lot of clients and leads. So if I go to them and tell them, well, I'll build you a website that's going to generate more leads for you, they're like, well, we're overbooked already and overworked, so we don't need that. But what they do need is something to more easily manage the existing clients, book them better. If a client doesn't show up, they need a way to track it. So if they miss an appointment for 3 times, that they can be aware of that, right? So better management system of the existing leads, right? For example, with AI, you can build a great website, a web app, a membership platform, sure. But if you target a specific SMB and go in that SMB, you can actually implement AI within their workflows. That's going to make their work exponentially easier, save them a bunch of time on manual admin tasks, and essentially leave them with a lot of time on their hands to focus on the craft instead of having to type a bunch of stuff in the computer. So that's the one perspective I went from. With Webflow, you can build a great website, you can generate leads for the clients, but then with AI, you can do that and so much more, right? So that's one of the reasons why I've decided to go into.
Understood. When are you launching the agency website? Do you have a timeline, and what's your roadmap right now?
There's a bunch of different directories that you have to create an agency profile on, make sure it's tight and well put together. As soon as I prepare all of the projects, the case studies, and all the profiles for these directories, such as like good firms, clutch, yada yada yada, then I'm going to like create an official launch on the socials, on LinkedIn, on X, even on YouTube maybe. But yeah, that was like how I've had it planned. When everything is like as perfect as it can be, we then go to launch it.
Okay, that makes sense. What I would like to do now is see you build something out. Obviously, like you said, there's a lot of power in AI. The idea behind this podcast is to show rather than tell. And let's get the people what they want.
Okay, let's do it. I've been working with Framer as well for a long time, and Framer has a very rich marketplace, and you can build cool things for their marketplace. One thing that I've built for Framer was a plugin called Preflight, which does a small Q&A test on the website you're working on and tells you well, you need to update these alt tags, these meta tags, etc., etc. And all of these different small tags that you need to do on the website, it centralizes them, and it also allows you to connect AI MCP to it, and then you can tell Claude, run a test on the website, see what we need to fix, and fix it. So that's what Preflight does. My idea for this specific podcast was to build a simple and quick landing page for this plugin.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
And also, I've seen you posted the video in the Ship Studio community on your workflow for designing using AI. Could you maybe start showing that picture? Just briefly walk through the process on the high level, and then we can go in and go step by step, showing how you are doing things.
Absolutely. I just have to
Awesome.
set. Okay, so the workflow, let me explain the workflow that I've shared really quickly here, and then we can proceed in building. Okay, it's called anti-slop AI workflow, and to use it means that you're going to get the results that are not slop a lot quicker, right? So the
Just
IDE I liked.
real quick. So what I'm seeing right now are the following tools. I'm seeing Cursor, which is your terminal wrapper, what you're using for your AI agentic workflows. You've got
Yes.
Relume. I'm guessing those are for wireframing and certain components so that you can set up the structure. You're using ChatGPT. I assume it's for visual assets. I don't know. I'll let you talk a bit more about that. Then Mobbin is for a good visual references. It has a great MCP and it has references for both web apps, mobile apps, websites, etc. Claude, I'm assuming you're using for actually generating the code. So maybe you're using Claude through Cursor. And then
Yep.
I'm seeing you've got this few skills, and I'll actually let you talk about those. But this
Yep.
is the gist of the tech. And then you've got add-ons in order to make their, let's say, anti-slop happen better. If that
Yes.
makes
Yes,
awesome.
you're right. So the first one of those skills is an MCP server called Interactive MCP. And what it does is it pauses the AI output and it opens up a box that you can type your feedback in. It takes that feedback in and then it immediately starts to continuing that same session. It saves up your tokens a little bit, and it's quite useful mid workflow because whatever you're doing, it pops up on top of the screen.
That's awesome.
Puppet.
How did you learn? How did you learn about this particular skill?
About interactive MCP, I think I was browsing what would be the best setup for Cursor when it comes to MCPs. And then I was browsing through a bunch of different MCPs and I found this one and I thought it was incredibly useful. So I just integrated it and started using it.
Understood.
Puppeteer, even before AI, this tool was quite popular for allowing bots to control Chrome and to control different types of your computer. This is sequential thinking. Basically, it takes a really big task, and this one takes that big task, breaks it into smaller chunks, and then it basically works on these smaller chunks to essentially build a better web app or website or whatever you're building. It gives it small steps to achieve a bigger goal. This is called Zap OWASP. Once you publish your website, it scans for the most common vulnerabilities that it could have, like cross-scripting attacks, if your forms aren't validated properly, or if you have exposed DNV keys or anything like that. This tool gives you a detailed report, and then you can feed that report to Claude and say, I need you to fix all of this and basically make the whole thing more secure. And these are the specific vulnerabilities that we're having and fix them. And then edit layer was an NPM package that I've built that you just install on your Next.js website, publish it, and it allows you to go to /edit link on your website. And you basically can then edit the copy and all the marketing details directly on the website. But this workflow has already changed since 1 month ago because Relume now has MCP on their own, which I have not yet set up. Before, you
Wait,
could just do npm install Relume. Now they have an MCP. Yeah, this has a bit changed. And then also Fable and like GLM came out, so I'm now using GLM 5.2. So we're
yeah.
gonna see that. see
I
that now.
was quite pissed off for a while because I
Mhm.
realized Figma has very bad MCP and Relume didn't have
Yeah.
MCP and there was no way to generate actual pages. I thought to myself, well, what's the next best thing? There's Mobbin, which is great for referencing. And
Hmm.
if you have already done your strategy and you have your content brief and you have already your information architecture
Yep.
set up, then paper design was for me the solution because it had an amazing MCP.
Hmm.
But now you just said that Relume just released their MCP and I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'll have to check
Yep.
that one out.
Yeah, they released their MCP, but I didn't have time either to connect it and to see how it works and use it. So right now we're probably gonna modify this workflow a bit. But still, even if you use the exact workflow that's outlined here, it's gonna it's gonna do a great job, as you're about to see. Okay, let me reshare my screen to Cursor.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is going to be where we're gonna build a pre-flights, the whole the whole pre-flight landing page. So what I'm gonna do right now before we even start, go to npx create latest. So this is just going to set up the Next.js project. We're gonna say pre-flight landing page. We're just gonna use defaults. We're gonna set it up, and yeah.
For those that are less technical, what you have done right now is you have set up the environment for the landing
Yeah,
page. You have set up certain folders, etc.
like a boilerplate code for setting up a next project from scratch. So you don't have to put all of this in manually. You just run this command. You have to obviously have Node.js installed, and you have to have the npx package manager installed. And once you run the command, it's going to set up the starter code. In the meantime, what we're going to do, I'm going to quickly navigate over to the models that I'm using, and I'm going to enable GLM. This GLM is Cursor's native GLM, and this one is one that I've set up through OpenRouter. So let's just use my API key from the OpenRouter seems to be gone, so I'll have to update that one, but that's not a big deal. I'm just gonna navigate over to OpenRouter.
Used Cursor before. I've not
Mhm.
seen the UI. I don't know how this works.
We're gonna use it now. It's a great tool for setting up the project. Okay, let me just quickly generate my new key here. API key. Let's just call it cursor 2. Limit expiration create. So we're just gonna paste it in here, and then the secret should be saved. Okay. And then once I select the AI GLM 5.2, it should but although we have it already in Cursor, so if something doesn't work, we can just use it. Also Fable 5, let's enable that one. Opus 4.8, let's enable that
So,
one.
quick question. Fable 5, it's done since today. It's no longer included in your regular plan, so you have to pay additional
Yep.
in order to get Fable. From the latest experience, since the
Yep.
US allowed Fable for the general public, what I've seen and what I've noticed is that Fable was very good with architectural tasks, not so much with the coding tasks like before. So I just want to hear what you're using it for now and where you're seeing the value to pay extra in order to use Fable at this point.
Fable, I would say if you really want superpowers and you give it like an ultra big task, for example, what I would do right now, the initial prompt that I feed into this, let's say I use either GLM or Fable, I would use like these more powerful, more expensive models to set the whole thing up in the sense of setting up my folder structure, deploying it on GitHub, and all of the very, very big task that needs to be done. I would feed it to Fable, and that's what I would say its value is. And then if I need to do a really large updates, I would use Opus 4.8. And then for the like some of the smaller updates, I would use Composer 2.5. But GLM I would also use for both starting it up and updating it, depending on the difficulty of the update that it needs to do, right? So let's say that I need to implement a dark theme and I want to have a button that when I click, it changes to dark theme and it works perfectly. Then I would use Fable or even GLM or Opus for these types of larger tasks. So Opus, I would say large tasks, but not as large as Fable 5, right? And you're
So
right in.
just sorry for interrupting. The way you're seeing this is that the difference between the two models is how large of a task it is rather than what type of task it is. It doesn't matter if it's coding
Yeah,
or not. It doesn't matter if it's architecture or not. It doesn't matter if it's something else. For you, it's just the capability to be more effective with the context it has.
essentially, yes. And
Oh,
also, when it comes to context, there's a quite good tool called Graphify. So what Graphify does is it
it's a
some
knowledge graph. It's a knowledge
yeah,
graph. It's a very cool tool. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, and go ahead. Please tell a bit about that.
yeah, it gives memory to your project so that when, let's say that AI needs to access certain parts of your code, it goes through the work tree and it finds it a lot quicker compared to if it was assessing the whole code base from zero. So let's say I start a new agent here and I have to do an update. It was gonna go, well, first I'm going to scan the entire code base, and then it takes a bunch of tokens to scan the code base. When it has Graphify, it immediately goes through the Graphify and it knows where to look at. Basically, that would be a quick description of it. But it's obviously a bit more complex than that, but just for the sake of time to not too much time explaining it. I'm going to show quickly pre-flight now, and what it does. This has been set up already. Let me reshare my screen. So this is pre-flight, and this is what we're going to be building a quick landing page for. So what I'm going to do is just go Control A, Control C, and I take all of this right here. And what I can do over here, let's say that I enable GPT 5.5, right, or 5.4, and I'm going to go over here.
By the way, you're not sharing everything.
Okay, let's go back
You're
to
still in the
the.
pre-flight.
Okay, so basically, pre-flight is what we're going to be building a landing page for. We're going to be building it in Cursor. So let's reshare Cursor once more. And this is the last time we won't be going through. So I'm going to paste like the entire thing from pre-flight, all the data in. And what I'm
Uh,
going to basically do is this. We're going to be building a quick and simple landing page for pre-flight plugin. The color theme should be consistent with the screenshot attached. I'm going to attach a screenshot later. What I need you to do is to craft a perfect prompt for frontier models such as Fable, Fall, or GLM 5.2. Assess all the data we have. Right now,
so
we're going.
while you were typing, I was thinking to myself, the beauty of AI lies in the fact that while a lot of people are arguing about what is the best prompt to give in order to get a good result, people who have development background are smart enough and lazy enough to understand that the best way to actually come up with a good prompt is to be true to their nature, be lazy, and actually say, I know what the hell I'm doing. Hey, here you go, you do it, figure out what's the best prompt. And it's
Yeah.
not just what's the best prompt in absolutes, it's relative to the model that we are going to be using. So Fable is at the time of filming is relatively new model. It's been already banned and re-released into the public. It's still a freaking freak of nature in terms of AI capabilities. And what Zlatko did was he said, I want you to figure out what the best prompt would be for that
Yeah.
model specifically. And that's the beauty of it.
So, and here it is, actually. It just returned a prompt and we're going to use it. And since I'm going to send it a screenshot. So I'm going to tell it, for example, now to improve a prompt, right? So I'm going, and even I can also do this, right? So here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go back and let's see if okay, let's quickly close this. Okay, so I'm going to attach a screenshot and you analyze the color palette that we have in the screenshot analyze the visual direction that we're trying to achieve with the landing page. So primarily we should have this noisy gradient background. We should lean into blues, whites, and a dark theme a bit more. So that's the visual direction that I want you to take. And before proceeding to build the entire landing page, I want you to use Mobbin MCP that we have set up and use that MCP to basically find good inspiration for landing pages. And then once you have enough inspiration, proceed to in building it. So take all of this data into consideration, give me a fresh prompt. No need to use interactive feedback MCP right now. Just return the prompt, and then we're going to change the model and we're going to let you work.
While it's working, I have a question. You immediately asked, now you were generating a prompt in order to have a decent chance at building a freaking awesome landing page. You asked for Mobbin to give you references. And once that's done, are you going to use this full prompt to somehow work with Relume, or are you going straight into the building? And where are you also going to be seeing the references that Mobbin has given you so that you can decide which reference suits your needs best?
First, when it comes to Relume, I don't think we're going to use it right now just because to set up another MCP here, and just for the sake of time, I can specify exactly how I want the sections to be laid out and so on and so forth, right? For Mobbin, it's going to pull references on its own based off of the prompt that we give it, and it's going to then build it. If I don't like the output, I can go into the Mobbin website myself and then just send it links. These are the references that I want, and then use these references instead of the ones that you have already used. So it's basically just iterating and updating and so on and so forth. Okay, so now that we have the prompt available here, let's see if we can use Fable now for this. So we should be able to use it. But what we could do is maybe reopen the cursor really quickly. So let's do this then.
Because I don't really know how cursor work, you said that you want to reopen cursor.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Aren't you in cursor right now as we speak, or do you mean something else?
Yes, we are. But the thing is, we have two folders right now. We have pre-flight landing page, and when we were setting up Next.js, it created this new subfolder pre-flight landing page, right? So I'm just going to open cursor directly in here. You're going to actually see it right now really quickly. So now that when I reshare my tab, here you see that we're now directly in that folder. So I just don't want the AI to confuse like anything. I want to make sure that it's fully grasping what it needs to do properly, right? So the old one I just now like close, and this is like the part of my normal workflow, right? I'll mess things up. Sometimes it's not going to give me the great output that I initially wanted. So it's all just part of the process in which and part of the workflow, right? So when it's not edited or anything, it's quite actually messy. That's like the beauty of working on it. You figure it out as you go. So this is the prompt.
For me, a funny thing is that you're actually going in and saying, hey, we are now in this folder. Let's go back and reopen the thing that I need to be reopened, to avoid AI from being confused in terms of where to actually create the thing that you're trying to create. For example, for me, one of the things that I did with creating an agentic workforce with Code OS, which is the project that I'm currently working on, one of the things that happened was initially I was using my big brother's Claude Max. I have a file that has all the API keys set up as environmental variables, but my brother has connected Claude directly to his Notion in the Claude connections. So at some point, Claude was hallucinating and thought that when Claude's speaking to me, that it should create folders in my brother's Notion database, when in fact it should have used the environmental variable and created it for my Notion. So there's that level of confusion that you're trying to walk around so that things are not being created in the wrong places. And obviously later on, if you ask it, where is it? It's going to find it. But you still have to figure out that it's placed things in the wrong place.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I like to still, I don't want to outsource the entirety of my thinking over to AI. For example, for the prompt, I will outsource that because it's going to figure out what another AI wants. Right? And here it is. It's now searching Mobbin to find the results that we're looking for, right? So and but I like to like think of things, and I don't like to miss out on a lot of things, right? And the reason, okay, so you'll see a lot of people, for example, running Claude code directly in the terminal, and then working from the terminal, and then setting up like 4 or 5 agents from different terminals working. I don't think that's a bad approach. I think it can work, but I like to be focused in and keeping this workflow that cursor initially built. The reason is I like to look at the my like code base at the side. For example, the way I would approach it is I would use in this app folder, I would build like components, pages, utilities, all of the different folders, organize it. And I can tell that now to AI to do it, right? So yeah, that's something that's quite useful. Okay, it's not generating. I get like so distracted easily when I'm working. Like, okay, these are good. Suno. By the way, if you've ever used Suno, it's insane. Like that, it actually generates soundtracks and songs, and some of the songs are actually now being like played here, and people are like full on listening to them. They don't even understand it's AI, which is like that.
I actually never used Suno. From what you've said, I understand that it's an app that is creating soundtracks using AI. Maybe not, but
So it is. It like you can build a full song with it, which is insane. Like you prompt it and it gives you like a song. And people the type of insane shit that they like and songs that they're building with it, it's
so you can call yourself a sound engineer nowadays.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The sound, yeah, I mean, yeah, the sound engineer, right?
So
But
what's happening right now is basically Mobbin is coming up with potential references for the landing page,
Mhm.
and it's doing that for various projects. I assume that as soon as it does that, it's going to think for itself which makes sense and which don't make sense. But you're probably going to be an intermediary with figuring out what works and what doesn't.
yes, that's exactly it. And what I like to do is the thing is when working with Fable, right? It can generate this whole landing page in like maybe 15 minutes, and then we can present something to the audience. But there were times where I would let Fable run and it would run for like hour and a half or like even longer, and it would like then return results, or even Opus. Like it would take like a lot of time to finish the task. But I think Nvidia's CEO or one of these big tech CEOs said like soon we're going to have 1 week like long tasks that you prompt an AI and it runs for like weeks in solving that problem. So it's like, I think since we're just working on a landing page, we're not implementing Sanity, we're not implementing third party tools or anything like that, I think it's going to go good. One other use case that I would like to showcase here, since while this is working, right? This was a fun side project that I have worked with my friend on, and I think so. What we're seeing here right now, this is a headless Shopify store. We've built this entire store with AI. And for the people who say, oh, well, the AI doesn't understand conversion rate optimization, why doesn't understand it? The AI won't understand that only if you don't understand it. So if you don't understand how conversions work, the AI won't understand it either, right? Here, we've managed to get about percent or 15% conversion rate or so. And we have pixel data that we can share. However, the funny thing is when we started running ads for this headless store on Facebook, we made a huge fuck up where we spent like 250, $300 without getting sales. what the issue was is that we wasn't running campaigns properly. We didn't set campaigns, ad sets. We didn't leave the ads running long enough so that the algorithm can learn what audience to present to. And once we figured that out, so this friend I was working with on this website, he figured out how ads work on Facebook, and that's insanely complicated. You have three different UIs that do the same thing. You have like a Meta Suite, you have Ads Manager, and you have like Boost Post, and a bunch of different things that bunch of different UIs that should do effectively the same thing. So Meta, right, like it's so bad and frustrating to work with. It's insane. But once we figured it out, we started getting like maybe 2 to 3 orders every day through this site, right? So let's go to and we can also show the back end in Shopify. So the way we set it up is we set up Printful. We were getting inspiration from the AI to like on what types of designs we want, and then we would implement it in Printful, connect Printful to Shopify, Shopify Headless to Next.js, and we would build out this entire Shopify store. And this is also one big thing that I think AI is gonna have an impact on, because Shopify's native theme editor is so bad and so unintuitive and such a shit to use that I don't see a purpose as to why you should build a store with theme editor, right?
I've heard a lot also about there being big hurdles with the backend whenever you're working with the theme editor, and that this can be overcome by going with the custom stack, which
Yeah.
fortunately or unfortunately no one knew how to use back before AI. So nowadays it's a lot simpler to actually create a genuinely good e-commerce store. If people used to say that the golden age of e-commerce was back when dropshipping was a thing, one could argue that, well, not really. It's probably now, because now at least it's not about the business model as much as you're not hurdled by the technological issues, which was the biggest issue before.
Exactly. Also, let's see what Fable came up with. So we're getting this landing page with which granted for now does look like AI-Slop, but then we can later on, once we start working on it more, is going to look even better and better, right?
Yep.
So, okay, so first thing that I would do here is I would completely change the logo and the navigation menu. I would get rid of all of these menus here. Maybe I would put it in a hamburger menu on the side. I would make the whole nav menu transparent. I would get rid of these backgrounds over here, and I would create a background gradient with something like ChatGPT. I would send it as a background image, and I would tell it to implement it here. And what I would focus on primarily is this over here, the showcase of how the plugin works, right? So I
Yep.
would tell it to redesign this, to animate it, to make cursors coming in, clicking on things, showing the score, basically showing the whole workflow. This is good. I would keep this. Could be redesigned. We could use some sort of icons here, maybe even animate it so that it's actually showing the whole thing a bit better. AI plus use the yeah. So we have MCP. So this is good. I think this section is good. But the way I would set it up, I would just probably do 100 viewport height, and then on the this on the right side, I would make it 1 by 1 in aspect ratio. Then free. Okay, this is good. I would showcase the price here so that users can instantly know what they're paying for. Okay, so this I would say is getting us 50 to 60% there, which is like the standard. That's what I got when I was building my Znova Studio website. But this is a good starting point off of which to work. So what people are going to do is that they're going to do something like this, and they're going to say, well, you see, AI gives you slop output as shit. There's no need to use AI for anything ever, right? Let's just build the whole thing by hand. I would identify which of these parts give off slop, and then I would redesign it. However, if you're active on Twitter, for example, a lot of the real landing pages and websites for the real products look even worse than this. They look like slop from 2024. And they're getting high conversion rates and people are subscribing to them, which is insane because like the normal customer who just like isn't well versed in the design as we are is just gonna be like, well, what, how the fuck does this help me, right? Where do I click to get it and to continue with my day, right? So
Slop is getting better.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, Twitter, worst and best place at the same time. But
Yeah.
that aside, we can see that you have created in 15-ish minutes. It's still running, but you have created a decent structure. Obviously, there are things that you're probably gonna change everything around about this. But we have gotten to a certain point where you have an image of how this could look. I know that we probably don't really have enough time to go through the whole thing, but let's try to get the hero section to the point where you would be very comfortable saying, this is it. We can go live with this hero section.
Okay, let's do that. I'm going to just let Feeble finish with running Puppeteer. So it's just getting screenshots to see how everything looks, right?
Yep.
And it's now going through the last section so we can go then through the hero. The thing is, let's say that we're working with the client, right? And the client comes up to us, we need to do this urgently, we need to do this by tomorrow, yada, yada, yada. You can literally go into Cursor, send it inspiration, send it the strategy, send it what you wanted to do, and it can create something in a very short amount of time. You can send it to the client. Here's the first draft that we have. Is this good enough to iterate upon, or do you want a completely different concept? So you present them with this, and then they tell you we need to change this, and that, and then they basically, you know, then you basically proceed to finish it, launch it on Vercel, start driving traffic, and see what the conversion rates are, et cetera, et cetera. So
So basically, your role in that is being Zlatko GPT, or you're the intermediary between the client and the AI. Surprisingly enough, do they need you? Probably not. But also at the same time, probably yes, because they oftentimes it's too scary to mess with Vercel and the
yeah.
hostings and all other stuff. But also, if you can get those clients, it's freaking great. Like
So
obviously,
what
do
we're
they need you? Not really. But then again, what are they gonna
yeah,
do?
yeah, exactly. Well, I think let's say magically you have a I have a GPT or Claude that's building a house in real life, right? I know nothing about building houses, right? I can tell it, build me a house. I want 3 floors. I want this, and that, and just go ahead and build it. And let's say that it builds me that house, right? But I don't know how to inspect it. I don't know to figure out what's wrong with it. But my dad does, for example. I would much more trust my dad to talk to it and explain everything in detail, how it needs to work. For example, when this house that I'm living in right now, when it was being built, my dad would frequently check up on what the people were building and doing. And then he would frequently find these mistakes that should be fixed. And then they would like fix it, explain it, which otherwise would then be left in there and would probably cause us issues later down the line, right? So I think that still if you have expertise in web development and web design, you have good and you have excellent foundations, you can still build something that would be far, far better compared to just like what normies I would say are building. So right now what Claude did is it called interactive feedback. So it's asking me now to what should be done. So because I'm a bit too lazy to type, I'm going to close it. I'm going to change the model to GLM 5.2 because it's a lot cheaper and it generates good work. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to say this. What we need to do is we need to change the logo, which I'm going to attach, make sure that the entire navigation menu is transparent. Instead of the navigation menu that we have right now on the right side, implement a small hamburger menu and remove a view plugin and run a free scan. just say open in Framer and keep the hamburger menu there. Remove the tagline with the dot in the hero section. Just keep a Framer plugin by Z and remove the whole pill layout. On the fewer launch surprises, I want you to use instrument serif italic on these specific words in the H1. And then I want you to optimize and the dashboard that we have in the hero section, make it animated so that we have like cursors coming in, flying, people clicking, make it looped animation so that it works as long as we're like basically looking at it. And then what I would like you to do is to increase the height and the width of this so it takes up more width of the viewport and increase the height. And what I would then like you to do is to create a noisy black background on the hero section. So we're now just focusing on the hero section. And I'm going to then later give you the assets on what I want as a background and what I would like as a logo, and just proceed in making these updates. So boom, I send it out. Now it's gonna take all of this into consideration, assess it. It's not gonna use as many tokens as Fable did. It's like 10 times cheaper or something like that, and it gives you like Opus level quality output. So it's now going to proceed in working this and optimizing it. And then I would figure out, well, I want different type of background here. I would then go into ChatGPT, generate graphics with GPT-2 model, and send it into my agent window over here. And then basically iterate upon this for like a day until I get it to where I want it to be. So I would like to share one example of what you could do with AI if you are like iterating enough upon what you already have, right? So let's go here. So this is the Znova Studio website that we have been building, and this has been built with AI, right? So all of these that you see here is I like literally specified the types of animations that I want, the GSAP effects that I wanted to use, this effect over here when you hover over the project and it showcases the work. This is also like I specified to AI how I wanted to work. Then this over here, this like container line. This is motion design. This like entire animation here has been built by AI. So if I increase the window size a bit, you'll see it a bit better, right? So this is like you couldn't, if you wanted to have like these animations on your website in 2020, you would have to spend like at least 2 weeks building this. And I mean, I managed to do these like in a day with AI, right? And then this over here, the case studies. This is powered by Sanity. So these are the tabs that are powered, that are CMS powered. I don't think in Webflow you can create tabs that are CMS powered. I mean, I know you can because I've been working with it. You can use swiper slider and like you, but still you need custom code. And if you're going to use custom code, you might just well build it like this. So
There's also FinSuite that you can use for that, but then again, it's
yeah,
not the best way to do things if you dig into the technology a bit more.
the point is you have to hack things together to work. So if you're going to be hacking things together, you might as well just proceed in building a custom solution if you're going to go through all the hassle, right? So right now our agent is now working on the landing page. It's going to like continue redesigning it, optimizing it. For me personally, this wouldn't be enough to launch with enough iterations, which is what I have been saying and posting on LinkedIn. With enough iterations, you can get it to the point where it's something like insanely good. Even with my website, let's go to zlatkomarjanovic.com, which has been built with power of AI.
And I've got a
This,
question. You're iterating simply through chatting with cursor.
yes, exactly. I'm just iterating. And I'm giving it like specified output on what I want. This whole thing has been built with the help of AI and with but again, I have gathered enough skill set in the past like 10, 15 years to understand exactly what I want and how I want it to be built, which is why I can't get like this type of output with AI. And like this. Okay, this is obviously like reused the section, but who cares, right? Like this isn't a slop website. That's what I'm trying to get, and it
No, it's
has
pretty
been.
good.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. The one that we have right now, the starting point might be considered slop, but then the longer you work on it, the better it gets. The more you polish it, and then you launch it, and then you have something to send traffic to, and yeah. And even this, if you launched it, send traffic to it, people are gonna like click on the button and then go to where they need to go, and then you track the whole traffic, etc., etc.
No, man, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. But you also said that you would be creating the visual asset in GPT. How would you go around doing that?
Okay, let's go on Mobbin. Let's go on Mobbin first, right? Let's go Mobbin. Let's go in Chrome because localhost, man. And then I'm gonna have to share my screen again. Let's do the window. So then I would go like, let's say we're at the Mobbin here, and let's change the from apps to sites. And let's find some background gradients that I think I'd like. This one is good. Let me see if there are other ones which are dark themed.
Is that something you can filter through in the search bar?
I think you should, yes. Styles, let's do dark sections. Let's do hero. I like that one. I like this one. And also, let's actually, the one that I like the most, I think, would be this one from the pre-flight. So what I'm going to do, let's grab a screenshot of this whole thing, right? And then let's go into the, okay, over here. I have multiple tabs open, so. Okay, so now I'm in chat. And now what I'm gonna do is like, I like the background gradient that we have here. Make it 16:9 aspect ratio. Remove the P that we have on the top. Remove the bottom dots. Me a clean usable gradient that's going to be used in a hero section, and reduce the white that we have on the top. I would like only small types of god rays to come in, which are white, and the rest can be dark themed. So I would like send this now to chat. Boom. And let it work. Let it generate an image. We can also like change this to high if we like really want to take time with it to generate something. And then while the chat is generating this gradient, I'm going to inspect and see what the AI has built so far from me. So right
What
now
basically
it's
is happening is that you have given ChatGPT to work on the gradient while you're going back to see the hero section is
yes.
progressing. But what about the actual asset at the like the central piece around which you are going to base the hero section? Is that also something
That
you're gonna be doing in GPT?
do you mean the dashboard or
Yes, sir.
the dashboard? No, AI has already done a lot better job with the hero section.
Can you share the screen?
Yes, I can. So let me reshare my screen.
Oh, and the gradient is pretty nice.
Oh, did it already? Wait, did it already? Where is it? Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's quite cool. I mean, yeah, it's quite nice. I'll use this. The workflow is a bit messy when you're like in trenches doing it. But then I
I
like
think
it. I like this.
I think the biggest problem for you is like resharing the screen all the time. But like the
Yeah.
point with AI workflows is you're not anymore burdened by the tactical know-how. So you're not just working on one task at
Yeah.
once. You're working like on 10 different things at once. You're chatting with different windows and you are constantly looking at the progress in different places because this is
Yep.
all relatively fast. So if you want to kind of get the maximum output, you're going to have like 5 tasks in parallel or as many as you can have at once. That
Hmm.
being said, you cannot be in focus state for a very long time with this. You're probably going to be working 2 hours at a time, and then you're going to take an hour break because simply, like for me at least, my brain cannot handle it. So I
Yeah.
take a break. I go through like a gazillion different windows. I do like all out work. Then when I'm relatively satisfied, I take a break and then I carry on again.
Yeah, the way I do it is, for example, right now I'm doing this on a Windows PC. And if I'm like the big issue that I have right now is figuring out what would be a worthy product of building and launching. And like I'm consuming so much content and finding out and figuring out what to build that I can get overwhelmed easily. So the way I would chill out, I would just like let it all go, go touch grass, maybe play games or something like that. Like just chill out. And even the gaming, it has been shit for the last few years because like if you're not wasting hours of your life on it, it's it's just unplayable, right? So touching grass, like being bored, as Dan Coe said in his last post, you have to be bored. You have to let yourself be bored and not stimulate your brain all the time to get these better and new ideas. But yeah, what I've done is I've sent the gradient that we have generated with Chat GPT into the pre-flight, so it's going to use it now. Still, it's a bit pixelated, so it's going to ask me again, what do you need to, what should we fix? And then I'm going to tell it again what it needs to fix. And as we're iterating, it's going to get even better and better, right?
This is awesome. Basically, right now, immediately, what we can say, the next prompt is going to be, so we have navigation, remove background. We've got the background image that is pixelated, fix that. We have inaccessible
Yes.
text there to light. We need to fix the
Yes.
accessibility, or we need to add some layover gradient that should be darker. We don't know yet, but we can figure out,
Yes.
probably not. Then another thing is we can further improve the dashboard. You would probably say how to improve the dashboard, and that's like another 5 or 6 prompts that would take another 40 minutes ish. But at least now we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we can figure out how to get rid of all the.
Exactly. Yes. And by tomorrow, if I sit down and continue working on this, by tomorrow it's going to be ready and publishable, and you can start driving traffic to it, and it's not going to look like full on slop, right? So even if you see right now, it's using Puppeteer, so it's going to see what it looks like, and it's going to it's running interactive feedback, and now I'm gonna tell it like all the things that you said, which would then be remove background in the menu. And you probably cannot see my interactive feedback window because it's a Python script that opens up as a separate window, so it's not directly in cursor. But I'm going to like now tell you everything that I'm building. The background image looks a bit pixelated, add subtle grading overlay so that we have more readable text, fixed text. They implement that further optimize the UI of the dashboard and make it more engaging. Add less neon colors, for example, less neon colors on the button, on the primary button CTA, as subtle animation to the primary button CTA, darker BG color on pixelate, and proceed. So now I'm going to send all of the feedback to it, and then you're going to see it's going to assess it, maybe create a to-do list, and continue iterating and improving. Which again is the same principle behind startups. You get something that's shit out, you iterate it until you get a product that's actually servable to users. So this process with AI, it's basically the same as it has been like last 10 years. You have to iterate, and essentially if someone's going to say, well, yeah, it's going to cost you $100, you can do this in Webflow for free. But then yet again, if you use Relume, if you have a freelancer plan, if you use a bunch of different tools for like to find inspiration, to still going to cost you. Like, so it's like you can't, there's like rarely something that you can do fully for free, and that's like mind-blowingly good. So you always have to invest money into educating yourself and building something, learning through it, just optimizing for the future, I would say.
I think that at this point we can clearly see the difference between like the first iteration and between now. Obviously, you're not you're not going to be able to fix everything with one prompt, and that's not the point of this workflow. The workflow is here to reduce the sloppiness of the whole AI workflows. And if we were sitting for another 45 minutes, you would probably have already finished up the hero section and it would be ready to ship. That said,
Mhm.
it would take a very long time. So, what I can say is, in my view, at least, this is enough to see the workflow. I can clearly say that this is freaking awesome because you're saving up time, saving up money, etc., etc.
Yep.
You've done a wonderful job showing us everything. And honestly, I think that this is it. We can end this stream. I would say that in the description, I'm also going to send the final version of this website because you have
Mhm.
worked on it and it can be very cool to show like the end version so that we're not like cutting midway and then with the viewer
Yeah.
steals the show. But I want to make sure that people understand that this is the process and fast forward throughout doing the same steps that you have been showing us so far. The end result is this.
Yes. I will prepare the end result, finish it all up, and I'm going to send it to you. And by the end of this whole process, it's going to be like a genuinely great landing page.
That's awesome. And thanks a lot. It's first of all been a pleasure meeting you. Thanks for showing me your process and thanks for actually walking through the stages and the steps. I wanted to get your info for the people who are actually watching the podcast. How can they find you? How can they connect with you? And what's next for you? What are you going to be working on once you're live with the agency?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast and keep the great work with it. And in the future, it's going to be really big. I have some feeling it's going to be a really big podcast, and then at some point in the future, we're going to run it back and looking back at all of the things that we have built in the meantime. And as for the people and how they can find me, contact me, you can do it on X at Zlatko. That's my X handle. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So you can reach out on LinkedIn, just type in my name. And then obviously my personal website where you can, like, if you want to talk to me, you can book a call or do whatever, hang out, chill, exchange experiences, so to say. And yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for that. We can already see how the website is changing in live. And I
Yep.
guess that's the moving target. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's your host, Evgeny Tilipman. You can connect to me at LinkedIn, Evgeny Tilipman. It's, our website is khod.io. YouTube channel is the Moving Target Podcast. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.